You doing, baseball fans? Shout out to my Mets fans first chiming in, Cardinals fans, whoever you're a fan of. It's your boy Wardy, and we're back at it with our latest post-game segment as the Metropolitans falter to the St. Louis Cardinals tonight on a Friday night evening where JD Martinez makes his long-awaited, highly anticipated debut by a final score of 4-2. In tonight's show, we'll get into what went wrong for the Mets tonight on a frustration level. Where do I currently stand? Right now, I'm probably at a solid 5.5, 6. Again, not that the sky is falling or anything like that, but JD Martinez certainly made an immediate impact. The Mets, outside of him and outside of Tomas Nido, out of all people, had nothing to show for it on an offensive blunder of a night where the Mets went 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position. Everyone first chiming in live on a replay, do me a big favor and spam those L's in the live chat in the comments down below. The same way we spam the W's is the same way that we're going to be spamming the L's tonight, justifiably so, after, again, in a lot of ways, just a very unfortunate performance by the Mets tonight where you were hoping to see more with JD Martinez making his debut. You see the RBI opposite field double that was just shy of a home run. He had an immediate impact that I'm so excited to break down, folks. So yes, the Mets, of course, had a far from perfect game tonight. They had a lot of major flaws. Jose Buto throwing meatballs middle. Of course, you're going to give up bombs that way. And on the offensive end, yes, you might have had runners on base every single inning, but when you don't do anything with it, of course, you're going to find yourself in the loss column. So we'll break it all down, everything in between. Of course, shouting out our amazing sponsors on the channel at So Rare MLB and BetUS, but more on them a little bit later on in the show, everybody. In the meantime, continue to spam those L's. Really does mean a lot. The Cards are dead last in the Central. Not that that means anything this early into the season, but yes, the point is, and Cardinals fans will tell you this too, the St. Louis Cardinals are not a good baseball team. Miles Mikolas is far from a fantastic pitcher, yet the Mets, again, were not able to get enough on him when they had him in an early jam in the first inning, and this Cardinals team, again, pounced on the Mets little slivers that they gave them with the meatballs there in the couple innings, and they pounced and took advantage. Something this Mets team did anything but, folks. So we're going to break it all down together, but I appreciate everyone first chiming in live on our replay. Thank you all so much. Yes, again, the Mets certainly did not have a lot of things going right tonight, but there's one silver lining, and there's one positive that I am still looking forward to breaking down with you all. It's not only Tomas Nido's heroics looking like a man that should say, hey, Omar Narvaez, I'll take it from here. You never need to be in the catching spot ever again, with the way I'm both swinging the bat right now and the way that I'm catching, unlike you, Omar. But most importantly, it is, of course, yes, JD Martinez, why this is a big and very important discussion to have on not only Martinez's immediate impact, but the impact he's going to have on the Mets for the ensuing days and months going forward. I mean, this is a guy that is a lightning rod right in the heart of this Mets offense that cannot be understated. Just because you lost tonight doesn't mean that I'm not going to emphasize some positives, and he is certainly one of them. So excited to break that down here shortly. But again, I appreciate everyone first chiming in live on our replay. Let me make sure that I have everything set up. If you guys and gals are watching us on Twitter, thank you so much for being here too. But know that I will only be interacting per usual with our live chat here on YouTube today. And guys and gals, we will start to take live callers next week, so be on the lookout for that one. Very excited to get into it. But besides that, again, happy to have you all in here. No matter if it's win, lose, or draw, we're going to break down the ball games together as we always do. And if there is one other positive that I would like to share with you all today, this is not for my baseball fans, but it is for my hockey fans, my Ranger fans out there. Stand up, baby. 3-0 in the series against those Caps. We take that to the bank every single day of the week and on Sundays. Let's get some hype in the chat for the New York Rangers in here. But again, if you're an Islanders fan or if you're just not a Rangers fan, I can understand why that isn't appealing to you, and I apologize in advance. But naturally, I got to take the little positives that I have right now. My Knicks lost yesterday because Joel Embiid is literally the biggest bitch in the NBA, pardon my French, but again, it's 100% true. There's nothing to justify otherwise, regardless of his condition. I'll actually expand on that here if you guys want me to, because I've had family that actually has had the same issue that Joel Embiid is having. And yes, it's not fun at all. Certainly that's the reason why there isn't the blinking there, but nothing to justify sitting down and grabbing Mitchell Robinson's legs and ultimately having him hurt his ankle the way he did. I digress. That's a lot of New York sports playoff talk. Let's emphasize baseball tonight. Let's get into it. But of course, I want to share those little tidbits. Again, To the Islander fans out there, I wish you luck. I don't even know where you guys currently stand. Last time I saw you gave up the 3-run, not the 3-run, you were up 3-0 against the Hurricanes, lost in dramatic fashion. I'm not an Islanders fan, so I don't keep up with them as intensely, but if you guys want to let me know in the chat, by all means, let's do that. He says I'm delusional, so I'm assuming it's not going well, but no less, everybody, let's get into it. My NFL team is the Steelers, believe it or not. I'm very happy with the draft that they've had thus far, really bolstering their line for Russell Wilson and then Justin Fields, however they're going to implement him this year. It's going to be an interesting one to follow here. But again, that's not why you're watching this show. That's not why you're watching this on replay. You're watching because you want to say, Wardy, I'm disappointed in tonight's loss, but let's find a silver lining. What are those silver linings? That, again, is the following in Tomas Nido and JD Martinez. So, folks, let's break down the ball game inning by inning. Then from there, I'm going to tell you about our amazing sponsors on the channel. Now, we have some awesome giveaways starting next week that you guys can enter. Very easy to do so. That we'll share some tidbits on and all that in between. And again, folks, happy to have you, but let's break it down as we start things. Before I break down the ball game, 2 key updates that I am happy to share with you all, both positive updates regarding, yes, in fact, the pitching staff. Kodai Senga is going to be facing live batters for the first time this Monday that we saw. And yes, Tyler McGill will begin his rehab assignment on Double-A with the Rumble Ponies starting tomorrow. So yes, both of them are inching closer to their return. McGill will obviously be here sooner than Senga. Senga looks like he's almost ahead of schedule right now, which is awesome. So that way, hopefully, we're not going to have him that far after the May 27th deadline when he's expected to return from the 60-day IL. So Kodai Senga continues to trend in the right direction. That's a plus. And then you see there also and Mr. Tyler McGill. However, the Mets plan to utilize him either as a 6-man rotation, which may very well happen as they now have 39 games in the next 41 days or so that start tonight. So yes, they're going to be needing a 6-man. And Jose Buto was anything but sharp tonight too. So we'll get into where did Buto have his struggles today and how concerning are they when evaluating a pitching staff that once again shows their lack of ability or willingness to go deep into games. The walk rates continue to be somewhat high, and of course they're struggling to have your proper put-out pitch. That and more is what we're about to get into, but want to share, of course, those updates. Help me not put a hole in my screen. I will do my best, Jim, and let's just start with the obvious fact, everybody. Yes, the loss today sucks. Yes, it sucks even more when you lose to a Cardinals team that you shouldn't lose to, and this is not to offend Cardinals fans, but this isn't rocket science. Any Cardinals fan that thinks you guys have a realistic shot at making playoffs this year have a bridge to sell you, the same way that, again, the Mets were absolutely foolish to go down the way that they did in runners in scoring position today after having the off day yesterday, but it is what it is now. That's the reality we find ourselves in, everybody. So let's break it all down together here in the first inning. Wilson Contreras, William, of course, is a young stud there with the Brewers who has fine-tuned his game like never before after being more of a one-dimensional catcher during his time in Atlanta. Not great defensively. Now he is certainly that there with the Brewers. But his older brother, Wilson, that us Mets fans want a couple years ago from the Chicago Cubs, gets on via a walk there in the first. That's all she wrote, though. We then get to the bottom of the first. Brandon Nimmo leads things off with an opposite field single. Marte with an infield single. Mets have 2 on, no out. Surely they would score against the schmuck of Miles Michaelis. No, of course they didn't. Of course they didn't. And the reason why I say schmuck of Miles Michaelis, I still have a big problem with Miles Michaelis, and this goes back to over 2 seasons ago when the Cardinals hit the Mets around 3 times in a 1-game or, 1-series span, and Chris Bassett went out of his way to try to defend Michaelis and other pitchers in the Cardinals staff saying, hey, when we don't have a universal substance that we can use, to combat the baseballs being inconsistent, of course you're going to have guys getting hit by pitchers at times when it isn't meant to be that way. It isn't on purpose. Then you have Miles Michaelis being the absolute schmuck that he is. Instead of agreeing, took it almost as a threat and said, no, us pitchers always control what happens when we're hitting guys. Okay, Miles, so you are deliberately hitting us. Gotcha. Great to hear. Really, really appreciate that, you piece of you-know-what. So I've always had a gripe with Miles Michaelis then, and he hasn't had a crazy amount of success that we've seen over the past year and a half, but he had success against the Mets today, and that grinds my gears like no tomorrow, especially when it's a guy. When there's just guys in the league, when they have that face? You know how there's certain guys that have that face where you're like, you know what? I'm not trying to be overly rude here, but there's just something about that would just be so better if it wasn't the way it was, or if someone did something about it. Miles Michaelis falls in that category. It's not just because of the caterpillar he's got above his lip. It's just everything about him. There's just so much about him that I'm not a fan of. Either way, he had the Mets number today. Got to tip the cap. I always will give credit where credit's due. The Mets, again, made themselves look silly against a subpar pitcher here. But as we get on, again, Nimmo on with an opposite field single. Marte with an infield single in the first. Then afterwards, Lindor with the pop out after, a decent at-bat. But again, he falters there. And Pete Alonso with a brutal double play. Pete had a terrible day at the plate today. Double play there just before JD Martinez could have gotten at the plate for his first at-bat as a Met with runners in scoring position, and that certainly would have made a difference with the way he swung the bat today against Miles Mikolas. Because then as we advance to the second inning, Arenado gets on with a hit by pitch, Goldie with a walk, Burleson with a 3-run ding-dong, and when I tell you that this is a changeup that's a little too middle, I mean, a big understatement there. Just poor pitch placement there by Mr. Jose Buto to, yes, Alec Burleson. Gives the Cardinals a 3-0 lead. The Cardinals, who are dead last in either Major League Baseball or at minimum the National League in home runs so far this season, take their early lead there in the second with a 3-run bomb after Buto deals with early struggles. Again, struggles that we saw in LA, but it was against the big bad Dodgers. It was more justified if you're going to walk around their top three-headed monster in Shohei, Mookie, and Freeman. But not in the case of a Cardinals team that is so vulnerable and you should absolutely be pouncing on. But Buto did not get the job done today, unfortunately, for the Mets when we needed him to. And the offense, furthermore, needed to get the job done too when they certainly didn't. JD Martinez, folks, as we get to the bottom of the second, would rip an opposite field single down the first baseline for his first ever Metropolitan hit and his first ever at-bat. You'll love to see it. JD Martinez having an immediate impact for the Mets, and we're taking that every single day of the week. And that happened there in the bottom of the second, not the bottom of the third. I misspoke there. Then as we get to the top of the third, I walk out of my room just for a second, go downstairs to throw something out. I come back up. It's 4-0. Why? Because Wilson Contreras gets middle 92 meatball. No shit. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know I wouldn't have been able to hit it out of the park, but it goes without saying that there are a lot of casuals there in baseball land that would have ate that pitch up for breakfast. Just, again, putrid placement by Jose Buto, who had done such a fine job in his first couple outings in the year and really eliminating and trying to prevent said lawn ball, but not the case today. Again, the Cardinals get off to an early 4-0 lead, and they will never look back. And the Mets, again, never, and I mean never, were able to have the proper counter for someone like Miles Mikolas and what the Cardinals were throwing at us today, especially as we got into the ninth. Forget it. Helsley, one of the best relievers in Major League Baseball, sitting 100, 102 every pitch. I mean, you might as well just throw in the towel because that's wraps, folks. That's game. And as we get to the bottom of the third, Tomas Nido, again, one of the few bright spots offensively for the Mets tonight, getting the start at catcher. He rips himself an opposite field double, and that would not even be the biggest hit he would have himself having today. Nido looked tremendous with his at-bats today, and again, further proved having a guy that's not only competent defensively, well above league average on framing and defensive ability to block balls, to prevent raw pitches from happening, pass balls. Tomas Nido, I need and I truly want this man starting every 2 out of 3 days in a series until Francisco Alvarez is back or until Nido proves that he is not sustainable to even be in that spot, not just because of, say, a lackadaisical bat, but also because the defense isn't there. The defense is there with Nido. It makes a massive difference, and that's why I want him in the lineup. And now you're telling me he has some offense up his sleeve? Sign me up, baby. Tomas, the Nido King himself, getting the job done when no one else in this offense, unfortunately, is. Jose Buto there in the top of the fourth with a 1-2-3 inning. He would follow that up with a 1-2-3 fifth as well. And then as we get to the sixth with 2 outs, Paul Goldschmidt gets himself a single, Burleson with a walk, and that does it there, unfortunately, for Mr. And Jose Buto's final line. He goes 5.2 innings of 4 hit, 4 earned run ball, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, 2.86 ERA for Buto. But again, a continuation of the bigger problem the Mets have had with their rotation so far this season. And while they got in a better production out of some of these guys than what you initially expected, where they still falter is their lack of ability to go deep into games, one, and their lack of ability to command the strike zone well without walking everyone and their mother. I mean, Mets starters averaging at least 3 or 4 walks every single start feels like a commonplace thing right now. So my question to everybody watching the show live, and for people that are watching this on replay too, where do you stand with Jose Buto? If you had to give him a rating right now, pardon me, guys, if you had to give him a rating right now after not only tonight's start, but after his last start in LA, Where do you think he stands right now in this Mets rotation? Do you think that he should still be in the spot where he is more often than not a starter in the 5-man rotation? Do you think that he's a guy that makes more sense as a 6-man option when that is available once Tyler Miguel returns from injury? Or do you stand on the Jose Buto front? Because I certainly like his stuff. The stuff isn't terrible by any stretch, but it's all about location, baby. And when you can't locate, you're going to have problems. And that's exactly, unfortunately, what happened today with the likes of, yes, Mr. Jose Buto. Buto today, we saw four-seam fastball, top 94, sat 93, was a tick down from the average. The slide piece topped 86, the average was 84, and that was, a little down as well. The sinker topped out 93, sat 92. All of his arsenal was down today a little bit on the velo. Nothing drastic, but at least by a mile per hour for the four-seam and the slide piece. The changeup today topped out 87, sat 86, and the sweeper that he only threw twice topped out 82 and sat 82. Where the bigger problems you have as I take a look at Jose Buto's arsenal today, whip percentage there on the four-seam fastball, 38%. 67% today on the slider. So the slider, again, was getting the job done. Had some nice swing and miss. But when you're hanging your pitches the way that you are, and Buto did today, both with the sinker and with the four-seam fastball, that's where we're going to have major problems. So Jose Buto, again, not the worst line by any stretch, but just enough to keep the Mets out of it when they didn't have the offense going the way that we have seen in previous nights over the past 2.5 weeks. So Jose Buto again gets pulled. Then we see there Mr. Josh Walker comes in. And as I go back to the main slide, everybody, my intro will roll for a hot second or two. So apologies in advance as I do that. But of course, I want to mute that and make sure we're all set there. And we are. So as we get back into this one, Josh Walker, the southpaw, comes in the game. And he shuts the door down from there, thankfully. Josh Walker gets a key out after walking Nolan Gorman. And that does it there for the 6th inning. And the bottom is 6 there for the Mets. Lindor gets on with an opposite field double. And again, the Mets cannot convert there. Why? After Lindor with a nice swing from the left side of the plate, it's because a guy like Pete Alonso striking out on an absolute meatball, folks. Brutal meatball. When I tell you meatball, it was the exact same Jose Buto 92 mile per hour meatball right down the dick, middle, the same exact thing you saw from, Buto is what Miles Michaelis gave there to Alonso, and Pete had nothing for it. Pete swung right through that thing. I'm sure as he watched the film afterwards, was probably hitting his head like, how did I miss that? And that was in fact the case there. And I'm trying to think that if that was Michaelis or if that was Jojo Romero. Regardless, though, that was the key out. And then as we get then, folks, to the top of the 7th, Pete Alonso with a beautiful diving play, showcasing that Gold Glove caliber defense that we've seen plenty from Pete when he is going right, putting his body in play. He does it more than any other first baseman by far. My only concern with that is him making sure he stays healthy still. Donovan gets on with a single there. Jorge Lopez comes in, and Jorge Lopez shuts the door from there. Jorge Lopez pitches 1.2 scoreless innings today. Jorge Lopez continues to be a stud in this Mets bullpen. And Lopez now with a 1.35 ERA. I remember the schmucks like it was yesterday telling me, Wardy, this guy's a bum. He's going to be nothing for this Mets bullpen. And don't get me wrong, I was beyond ecstatic about a guy by the name of Shintaro Fujinami, who's far away from impacting this Mets bullpen right now, who is a well over 10 ERA right now in the minors, cannot command the zone at all, and is hitting everyone and their mother with pitches. So I understand that, yes, not every guy that I get excited about is going to amount to immediate success, if success at all, but Lopez was a guy that we've all known has had electric stuff, not only that we saw in the World Baseball Classic last year for Team Puerto Rico, before the season began, but of course in 2022 when he had an all-star season there with the Baltimore Orioles. Now in 2023, bounced with multiple teams, ended up back in Baltimore for a period of time as well, but Lopez comes to the Mets. We know he has high life with the velo. We know he has some awesome breaking stuff, and he's showcasing that right before our very eyes. Again, 1.2 shutties, 0 hits, 0 earned runs, 0 walks, 3 strikeouts, 1.35 ERA. We're taking that every single day of the week there for Mr. Jorge Lopez. And then after Jorge Lopez, again, we see Nimmo gets a leadoff single in the 8th, but of course, in Metsian fashion, this is why they went 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position today. Nothing, and I mean nothing, to show for it. The Mets will then go down there in order against Ryan Helsley, the flamethrower, in the 9th, and that does it. Sean Reed-Foley with a beautiful 9th inning, too, in the top of the 9th. Scoreless inning, no hits, no earned runs, 2 strikeouts. SRF back, of course, from the injury. We're happy to see that. Nice production there. But, all right, folks, let's kind of get into it. Why exactly did the Mets falter as much as they did today? Well, We know this offense can be streaky. And we know we saw it again in the away trip as the Mets split that away trip going 3-3. Won the series in LA, lost the series in San Fran, but capped it off strong in that bullpen game against the Giants in the best way possible. But it doesn't change the fact that this Mets offense has still been very streaky to start the season. And when you don't have Lindor swinging more than, say, the double he saw today, and Alonso just being lifeless with his at-bats, which he certainly was, you're going to have problems. And that is why, especially with Francisco Alvarez not in the mix for the time being, why it's that much more important for JD Martinez to be impactful and have the immediate impact the way that he has. And when I say JD Martinez has had the impact I spoke on already, folks, JD Martinez, again, one of the lone bright spots in this Mets offense today, going 2 for 4 with his hits that we would see there. He struck out silly on a curveball that was well down and in his second at bat, and struck out, on a 100-mile-per-hour heater on 3 pitches against Helsley. Don't blame him, especially for a guy that had his first game at the major league level this season. He's not facing heat like that consistently in AAA at all. But JDM looked fantastic today, all things considered, with the opposite field RBI double, just shy of a home run. And what stands out a lot about JDM is not only his ability to go opposite field as well as he does, but to go opposite field line drive with power. He just missed an opposite field home run. That was an effortless swing by JDM. There's a reason why he's led all Major League Baseball the past number of years when it comes to hard contact, barrel percentage, all those kind of numbers for Baseball Savant, because he is such a fast bat for such a grizzled vet. He's a timeless bat. He's similar to Nelson Cruz and those types, or even as they get into their mid to late 30s, the bat doesn't slow down right away because, again, they keep up with themselves. Even Justin Turner, now right with the Toronto Blue Jays, that's another example of a guy that's going to be swinging great up until he retires more than likely, because they just have something about their great hitting savant selves that they find the best, of course, location when they're swinging the bat, when they're barreling. And JD Martinez, again, all things considered, in a game where a lot of things went wrong, and there's one thing that's a positive, it is most certainly JD Martinez. So everybody watching this live and on replay, make sure to drop your comments down below, everybody. I want to know, what is your initial takeaway from JD Martinez's impressive Mets debut? Again, push the Mets loss to a side. I know we're not happy about the loss. No one is, of course. Push that loss to a side. When you evaluate JD Martinez's first outing, how would you rate it? Maybe if you want to give a 1 through 10 rating, or just share your overall thoughts on it, by all means, please do that now, because as someone who, again, was salivating at the mouth for JD Martinez to be a Met at some point in his career, as someone who idolized him heavily, not only during his time there, we're going all the way back to Detroit, had his little stint there in Arizona, and of course there in Boston where he won his championship in 2018. So much great success JDM has had throughout his career, and he has been this timeless bat that just continues to prove why he's one of the best sluggers in Major League Baseball, and of course is a Hall of Fame worthy type bat with the way that he swings, the way that he hits for high contact, high OPS, and of course the slug, the gap to gap, the home run ability year in and year out. His age may change, he might slow down a bit more, but the bat certainly doesn't, and that's great to see. So definitely want to know your thoughts here on Mr. JD Martinez and his initial impact. Postgame interview, Lindor says he wants to be traded. Oh, I'm sure on sale. Yes. If you're going to lie, at least do a good job at it next time and don't make it as blatant or simple. Let's see. Yes, this core is weak. I definitely think the Mets core is weak to a degree, but it's so much stronger if you get the guys performing on all full cylinders, 1, and 2, having Francisco Alvarez in this lineup. Because let's not understate how much of an impact Francisco Alvarez has on this Mets team when he's healthy and swinging the bat right. Alvarez is what I meant to say. Alvarez is another 25-30 home run bat in this lineup when he is healthy and when he is right. And it sucks we're not going to have him for 2 months now, but it's like a soul for a soul, if you will, if I'm going to pull my best Thanos impression, or, whichever character maybe it's not Thanos, maybe it's the schmuck that was in Captain America, the one that, the Red Skull face, I don't know his name. I'm not a Marvel fanatic to the degree that maybe some of you guys and gals watching are, so correct me on the individual's name. But no less, again, Francisco Alvarez goes down, you lose a power bat, and now you gain a power bat one of the best power bats you could possibly gain, I'd argue, in JD Martinez. So as we see here through the chat, this is what happens when the media blacklisted the Rally Pimp. Oh, and what you hate to see it. We love the Rally Pimp. We absolutely do. And the Rally Pimp is still there, if I'm not mistaken. We just had a schmuck by the name of Andy something Martino, if you know him, you know, having to get his little panties in the twist by the fact that people label him the Rally Pimp. And oh, that's such a terrible thing to say and label. Oh, of course, Andy. Yes, because you need to be the police and what is right and what's wrong to say, you know? Not like you've went out of your way, Andy, to make sure that your political beliefs are well known too, just over the past couple of years, and making sure that they're so prominent that everyone agrees with you, and God forbid you disagree. And this is not me to get on the political scale, but you know, Andy's one of those people that has no problem showcasing his emotions and feelings, but making others have to feel or believe that that is what says goes. Because if it's not his way, it's the highway. Something I very much disagree with, especially for someone who has continued to become a true laughingstock within the fan base and the organization that chomps at the bit of the idea of that man no longer working with a specific network that I know very well. But I digress. That's all. I'll leave it on that one. Red Skull, thank you for letting me. Of course, it's as simple as Red Skull. That's pretty funny. I'm not going to lie, everybody. But continue to let me know your thoughts here on Mr. JD Martinez, folks. And as you do that, I got to let you all know, guys and gals, about our new amazing sponsor that you know very well if you followed the channel last year, our great friends at SoRare MLB. Guys and gals, if you do not know SoRare MLB, you do now. SoRare has been so tremendous as one of the best, if I would truly and honestly say, not just because they're a sponsor, but because of how much I've enjoyed their product, the best MLB fantasy game out there, folks. If you love see MLB The Show and love building your own team, your own roster, being your own GM, then lock in, because this game is exactly for you. If you love collecting cards, say you were growing up and you were a big card collector the way that I was, especially with football cards, believe it or not. That was my first passion when I was younger, and then it got on to baseball and hockey and other sports. If you love all those things into one, SoRare MLB has you covered, as you can not only buy, sell, trade, and collect cards of your favorite players that then you utilize to create your own teams that you play in weekly tournaments in SoRare against other people across the world, and depending on how you perform in said tournaments, and when I say perform, what that means is how your players actually perform in real life, you will then reach a certain amount of points. And of course, the cards also vary in how good they are, similar to, say again, MLB The Show games, where you have more rare cards. So you have a common card, a rare card, and the rarer and the more expensive the card that you actually have is, the likelihood is, again, you're going to have a better turnout, because if the guy, say, gets a home run, you're going to get a lot more points with a rare card than a common card. And by building these teams and by building these collections, you not only perform in these tournaments for chances to win cash prizes, ticket prizes, which we're going to be giving away Mets tickets on the channel as soon as next week, folks. Yes, you heard that correctly. If you want to get in on all the action that SoRare has to offer, including you guys having the ability to play against me as well in these weekly tournaments, make sure you check out our great friends at SoRare MLB by clicking the link down below today to sign up. And again, their app is awesome. Unlike last year where you weren't able to buy, sell, and trade with ease in the marketplace in their app, you now can do that. So again, imagine having your own virtual cards that you again own because they're on the blockchain. You can buy and sell for real dollars, and trust me, some of them get pretty pricey too because of the limitedness and the rarity of them, as you would do as a normal card collector. So there's a lot of awesome avenues that come in place with this game, not to just play in weekly tournaments and to see how your team is doing, but the ability to play with your friends, to buy, sell, and trade that way, to be your own GM, and of course to have fun at the end of the day is the most important thing. In my opinion, this is the most fun fantasy game out there, because unlike, say, you doing your typical fantasy squad with whatever league that you have, you don't have these actual virtual cards in hand in your possession that, again, you can buy, sell, trade at your whim whenever you wish. And entering these weekly tournaments and different types of tournaments too is a boatload of fun. So again, guys and gals, if you haven't already, check out our great friends at SoRare MLB by clicking the link down below. We're going to be starting giveaways on the channel as soon as next week, which means if you guys do the simple, proper steps of literally just signing up and entering SoRare MLB and playing today and making sure you enter at least one league to start your tournaments, you'll be automatically entered for your chance to win Mets tickets next week, as along with a bigger giveaway, which will be $100 that is given to the number one winner selected out of, say, 4 people. We're going to be doing at least 4 people will be chosen as winners next week, and the number one person will get $100 in money that they can use in the marketplace to buy or sell whatever you want to do with your cards. So check them out today. As always, shout out to SoRare MLB. And I know a lot of you guys and gals know the game very well. We worked with them plenty last year. It's a really fun, interactive game for the community, and I'm really really looking forward to getting that thing started. So thank you all again for hearing me out, and shout out once more to Silver MLB. And there you go. Took long enough. As we look at the baseball slates that we currently got going, again, you guys can click the link down below today to get a 125% bonus for your first 3 deposits. As we take a look at the early slates for tomorrow, Mets are at plus 117 to minus 127 odds for the Cardinals. I'm so tempted to hammer the money line there because I just do not foresee a world where the Mets drop the first 2 against the Cardinals. But again, this is early going. This is the Mets at the end of the day. We have no clue what's going to happen. Thank you for the kind words, PB. I appreciate that. Nito is the best player on the team by far. That's how I know where you stand, brother. I appreciate it. Nito was the best player today, for sure. But there are a couple games I actually like tomorrow as we look at the slates. Baltimore Orioles minus 167 against the Oakland A's. I like that quite a bit. They just sent down Jackson Holliday, unfortunately, because he had a really rough early going to his MLB career, but he'll be fine. A lot of games, actually, that I like tomorrow, as a matter of fact. Yankees minus 126 against the Brewers. I like that a lot, too. I do. We got the Braves against the Guardians. All right, that's an easy one. All right, Braves, with the way that they've been rolling, we're going to hammer Braves money line right now without even second guessing. They've won 10 of their last 11 games, which means, of course, they're going to lose tomorrow. Dodgers have been swinging the bat so well. I'm going to take Dodgers money line at minus 152. And then we're going to go with a 3-pick parlay, which means we're going to go with one more slate. And I am not going to go with my Mets as much as I love them. I need them to prove me wrong. Even with a fairly high level of confidence with the City Connects tomorrow, you just don't know till you know. So I'm going to go with my Baltimore Orioles that I love more than most in the MLB that are not named the Mets for a 3-pick parlay today. And as I place this now, this is going to be $10. That wins me 31. So I'm going to put 20 in to win 62. And again, guys and gals, you can get in on the action today. You can tail this parlay with me, should you wish, with our great friends at BetUS. Cannot be zero. I don't know why that happened there. I guess we'll just throw that into to double up there for that bet. That's perfectly fine. And let's get that play. Why is this saying I'm trying to do this all in one single parlay, but for whatever reason, it's giving me hiccups? That's fine. We'll throw 10 on each as well. We'll do a 3-pick parlay, and we'll throw 10 on each pick just to see if we can hit on all those too. And there we go. So there's my 3-pick parlay. Again, shout out BetUS, who has you covered all your sports betting needs. But let me know, guys and gals, too, people that have been working with BetUS, that have, of course, been checking them out, have been placing bets this season. Let me know also in future coverage how things went for you so far while you're betting this season for those that have been interacting with BetUS. Have you been off to a great start this season? Have you not? How much have I impacted you positively or negatively with my picks, if you tail them or not? Let me know. By all means, don't hold back, because I really want to have thorough discussions with these things, especially in our pregame segments as we really break them down more thoroughly. We're definitely probably in the negative by a pick or two so far this season with our parlays, how we went. Unfortunately, a lot of them, we've only had our 3-pick parlay hit twice so far this season. We've had multiple 2 out of the 3 legs hit, and then we've had a couple where none of them hit just because it was a putrid night where everything went wrong, even when all the slates and everything was in that team's favor. It's a baseball season. It's a 162. Anything and everything can certainly happen. Let's see. Something's wrong when I want something in a big spot before the best shortstop in the National League. Yes, I mean, there is something currently wrong. The Mets aren't in unison yet. That goes in hand with it. And that's why they're a game above 500, everybody. But again, I appreciate everyone that took the time to watch live on a replay as we broke down the latest in Mets land. As again, the Mets found themselves losing tonight by a final score of 4-2. We'll be back live tomorrow, more than likely at some point in the evening, either directly after the game or not too long after the game. Hopefully after the Mets can even up this thing. Again, I'm sorry, this is not to offend Cardinals fans, but this is still the St. Louis Cardinals at the end of the day, a team with not necessarily lesser expectations, but a lesser reality once again this season when they look at the NL Central above them right now, and the Cubs, and the Pirates, and most certainly the Reds, and the Brewers. Let's not forget that too. I mean, my goodness, there's so many talented teams so far in the NL Central. And for a Mets team, while they look like they're going to be the 3rd best team in the division more than likely this season, understandably so, what they also are, in my opinion, in the opinions of many, is a better overall team than the St. Louis Cardinals. I hope that they can start to prove and show that beginning tomorrow in their midday game against said Cards. So that's going to do it for me. Let's see. I lost a lot of respect for this channel. The lack of accountability for Lindor is mind-boggling. Clearly, you haven't followed on the day-by-day if you don't think I hold players accountable, because trust me, I get hot-headed. I most certainly do that. But hey, if you lost respect, That's all you, brother. I'm sorry to hear that, but that makes one of us. Thank you all so much for watching, though. I appreciate it. Wardy, can you pitch tomorrow? I would, but after one pitch, there goes the UCL, there goes the capsule, there goes everything. And then they're going to have Wardy on the IL, 60-day. I don't think we want to see that. But that does it from me, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Mets lose game 1 of a 3-game set. We'll see how they do tomorrow. Until then.